Hello, everyone. I am here with this week's Read Aloud. So let's get right into it. We're talking about producers and consumers. So, starting from the top, every living plant, animal, and organism must have energy to survive. Energy is what living things need in order to grow, move, do work. Energy is found all around us and takes many forms. It takes energy for the trees to grow taller, for animals to run, fly, and jump, and for your heart to beat and your brain to think. It also takes lots of energy to grow bigger. How do animals get their energy? Animals get their energy to do things like move and grow from the food they eat. This is why animals doing a lot of growing and moving eat so much. Have you ever noticed that you felt really hungry after a lot of exercise? Or ever noticed how much food that young animals like growing puppies or teenagers seem to eat? The food you eat has energy inside of it that your body converts into usable power. So, the more energy animals have to use, the more food they will need to consume in order to refuel their bodies. How do plants get their energy? Animals can eat and digest food to get their energy, but some animals eat plants for their food, while some animals eat other animals. But what about plants? We know that all living organisms need energy to survive, but plants don't eat in the same way that animals do. Plants rely on soil, water, and sun to get their energy. Their roots take up water and minerals from the ground, and their leaves absorb carbon dioxide gas from the air. Plants then turn these ingredients into food by using energy from sunlight. The plant foods produced by this process are sugars and starches. This process is called photosynthesis, which literally means making something out of light. Unlike animals, plants don't need to find and eat food in order to get energy. Instead, they can use photosynthesis to capture the sun's energy and produce their own food. Let's talk about food chains. In an ecosystem, plants and animals all rely on each other to live. Since animals need to eat food, they rely on other prey animals and plants for their food source. And since animals, as well as algae, can produce their own food by harnessing the sun's energy, all other organisms in the ecosystem rely on these food producers in some way. Scientists sometimes describe this dependence using a food chain. A food chain describes a chain of events of how several different organisms eat each other, starting out with a plant and ending with an animal. For example, you could write out a food chain for a lion like this. Grass goes to zebra, goes to lion. A lion eats the zebra, which eats grass. Here's another visual example. Grass goes to a grasshopper, grasshopper is eaten by a frog, and a frog is eaten by a python, etc., etc. So, links of the food chain. There are names to help us describe each link of the food chain. These names depend mostly on what part of the organisms eat and how it gives or passes energy on down the food chain. So there are three main ones. We're talking producers. Producers are plants and other photosynthesizing organisms called producers because they produce energy for the ecosystem. Producers are the first link in the food chain because they harness energy from the sun and use photosynthesis to produce usable energy and food for other organisms to eat. Plants are the only link in the food chain where new energy is made. Consumers, animal and other organisms, get their energy by eating food called consumers. This is because they don't produce any energy. They must consume energy of other organisms. Consumers make up all other links in the food chain above producers. Animals that eat plants are called primary consumers because they eat first, primarily. Consumer animals in the food chain. So they're the first ones, so they're the primary. Then we go on to secondary consumers, which eat next, and tertiary consumers, which eat third. So you have producers, primary, secondary, and then tertiary. Lastly, we have decomposers. They decompose dead or decaying matter like plants and animals, and they put nutrients back in the soil. So it's resupplying everything. Got a few more examples down here, and don't forget to answer the reading questions. Sorry, I'm running out of time. That's why I'm talking so fast right now. All right, goodbye. Good luck with reading.